Pakistan. There are two views on the results of the Pakistan elections. One suggests that it is unfortunate that the election did not provide a single party with a clear majority and thereby provide a stable government. The other view is that what Pakistan needs now is a government of consensus, and these results force that on all parties. The World This Week's team, led by Tavleen Singh, covered the election and the events that followed it.
In Karachi and Lahore, they danced in the streets for 5 days and nights in a country where public dancing and singing has been taboo for 11 years. It was as if Pakistan had got freedom and not just democracy, as if a weight had suddenly been lifted. Behind me is the grave of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, with whose execution in 1979 the story of this election really begins. After his death, Pakistan went through over 10 years of military rule, political repression, and a party-less election before finally getting this chance for democracy. On election day, Sindh was bathed in the colours of the PPP, the party that Mr. Bhutto started, and it was almost as if he himself was a candidate in the election. It was here that his daughter came on election day to pay her own personal homage to the man who in this election was the symbol of democracy. It was not an easy fight. Ms. Bhutto, are you quite satisfied with the results?
Yes, in fact, I think the greatest satisfaction is that there were so many obstacles and we overcame. Really, that is the satisfaction, because they did everything to fraud us of this victory. They had two sets of voters' lists, one which was distributed to us and one which was distributed to presiding officers and to their voters, so that when our voters turned up, their names weren't there. Then secondly, they had presiding officers stamp ballot boxes. Thirdly, our polling agents just simply disappeared and weren't available. And while we were leading on the polling agents that did not disappear by 17,000, 14,000, very large numbers, the seats that we did lose were on the late pollings, and they disenfranchised our voter. This is the lowest turnout as we predicted. You saw the enthusiasm for yourself. And you can also look at the campaign trail. I went to Pindi, Faisalabad, Gujarat, Sheikhupura, hundreds of thousands, Lahore, hundreds of thousands of people turned out to greet me. And the coalition could hardly gather a few thousand. Yet these are the places where we did badly. And an area like Multan, which I didn't go, is the place where we swept. So it just shows that they targeted those areas where we were strong and ignored where we were weak. But the tide was so big that they weren't able to.
Even in Sindh, attempts were made to rig the vote.
And there are about 1,400 voters at this polling station. But due to influence of some zamindar of a locality, I mean this village, who belongs to government party, the voters has been, all the identity card has been taken away by him, and they are not allowed to cast their vote in this polling station.
I see. And you are a local councillor from...
Of course, I'm from local person.
I see. And from the morning there's been no voting?
No voting. I think you can ask from the staff of the polling station that how many voters have been cast up till now.
Okay, let's ask.
Let's ask them.
आ जाए इधर कि वो आइडेंटिटी कार्ड्स का कोई मसला है?
आइडेंटिटी कार्ड का मसला कोई नहीं, जिनके पास है उनको हम अलाउ कर रहे हैं।
पर सिर्फ 23 वोट पड़ा
23 वोट
कि लोगों को कोई दिलचस्पी नहीं है
लोगों की इस पोलिंग स्टेशन पर।
अच्छा
You understood what I said?
Yes. Benazir herself toured Larkana all day to try and reassure voters. She seemed tense and nervous, and said she was not satisfied with arrangements.
Well, we're not satisfied with the way the administration has held it, because they're involved in total fraud. And when we've been around, we've seen that they're out to do fraud. But what we're really lucky with is that they've got no manpower, and they haven't even got people to sit with them in polling stations.
It was the women who were particularly affected by the ruling on the ID cards. In one polling booth, only 100 out of 900 registered women voters were able to vote. This affected her major vote bank. I asked her about the problem with identity cards.
They've got the cards. The cards have reached the office, but the registration officer says that we've got a phone call from Karachi telling us not to give the cards to you.
Despite this, Sindh knew she would win, but nobody else did.
I'm realistic, I'm not optimistic. I say this is an opportunity which we have got, though they never aimed at it to have a free and fair polls. They never have any intention that the candidates of the masses may win. They were making such sort of arrangements through ID cards, through using of state resources to stop us. They wanted to defeat us in field through unfair means. Previously what they have done, they have kept us in jails and allowed people to cast their votes in non-party elections. Now they have allowed us to participate in elections and kept the people detained through ID cards not to cast their votes.
Even when it became clear that the PPP had 40 more seats than its nearest rival, the IJI, Nawaz Sharif, the only IJI leader to have won his seat, was believed to be in Islamabad talking to the president. And the uncertainty continues. Benazir has had talks with Mahajir Qaumi movement leader Altaf Hussain to try and make up for her lack of a clear majority. But her chances of becoming Prime Minister are good because, having taken the lid off, it will be hard to put it back on, even for the Pakistani army. There are the additional problems of raised aspirations.
मुल्क की तब्दीली ये चाहते हैं, मोहल्ले में सफाई रहे, वाटर सप्लाई की जो तंगी है वो रहे, बत्ती की जो तंगी है ये रहे, और हमें बच्चों को कॉलेज का कोई जगह मिले, स्कूलों के वास्ते जगह मिले, जो अस्पताल का है काम जो है 20 सहूलत मिले हमारी लयारी वालों को, ये हमारे दिल का मंशूर है, और कारोबार कुछ सही मिले गरीबों को, बस यही मेरे दिल का मंशूर है। हाँ, गुर्बत बहुत है,
लेकिन गरीबों की कोई नहीं सुनता है, समझ गए? अच्छा, ये बेनज़ीर के ऊपर हमने इसलिए भरोसा किया है कि बेनज़ीर जो है वो यहाँ का जो भी मसला है वो हल कर सकती है। यहाँ पर जितने भी आए हैं यहाँ का मसला कोई नहीं सुना है।
Both economically and politically, hard decisions will need to be taken.
See, so far, because of the lack of credibility of the earlier government, direct taxes have not been placed. More than 87% of government revenue has come through indirect taxes. It is now time to place direct taxes and bring larger sections of the elite into the tax net.
There are some very important socio-political issues that we have inherited. For instance, society itself stands fractured, the polity stands fractured, and there is no civil society at the moment in many respects. There is a law and order problem. There is the drug mafia and its problems that we have to sort out, and all the implications, social implications that go with it.
Although the vote for the PPP has been seen widely as a vote against all Zia's policies, including Islamization, PPP leaders and supporters say that their quarrel is not with Islam, but with Zia's interpretation of it.
I don't think there is a dispute on the issue of Islam at all, anywhere in Pakistan. There is, of course, a dispute on the manner of Islamization that Zia regime introduced. And that was draconian Islamization. That was represented by the whiplash and, the amputations, etc. Merely by that. Now, Islam also has a very benign face. Islam has an egalitarian face.
In spite of a transition to civilian government, the army is likely to remain very much in control behind the scenes. Military expenditure accounts for more than 50% of the budget, and I asked Benazir if this would be reduced.
I think Pakistan at the moment is passing through a period when the army has held power, either directly or indirectly. And now it is preparing to relinquish it to a democratic process. We don't want to give a pretext for that process to be abruptly halted. And that's why I think that one has to proceed with caution.
One way or another, this election will long be seen in Pakistan as the turning point. Few elections in history have generated the sort of emotion and excitement that this one has done. The singing and the dancing in the streets carried on for days afterwards, and it has all really been quite overwhelming. But now, as they say, the party's over and the time for hard work has begun. The new government in Islamabad inherits a country that has literally been torn at the seams in the past 11 years of repression and martial law. Not only have the institutions been damaged, but the society itself has had serious ethnic and other problems which will now have to be dealt with. Equally, there is the problem that the aspirations of the people have been raised sky high by this transition to democracy. But at the same time, the new government has a tremendous fund of goodwill to call upon. And if the leadership is wise, this could well be the beginning of real democracy in Pakistan.